What it do, baby? Welcome to Vegeta State Army. Thank you guys for liking, watching, and subscribing. And yeah, no, I have nothing big going on today. Nothing important. I don't think. Relax. Chill. Okay. All right, maybe I forgot. Oh yeah, that's right. Big news. Big news for Vegeta State Army. That's right. All of a sudden, now we have Kentucky Fest. Kentucky, they don't just have good fried chicken anymore. Now they have the very first Vegeta Saiyan Army top. Congratulations to one of our own. Vegeta Saiyan Army, the first ever, first place, Brandon Green. Congratulations. We love you. We're behind you. Now, when this team is open for anybody to join, I wanted to make a community for this game that was fun, and everybody sets up their own goal depending on where they're at. But I'm shocked at how many of us are topping. A lot of our local boys are topping. Kavir, Alex, Kevin, Joshua Ladonde. Now we have Brandon here, but we've had a lot. Like we have international motherfuckers from all over the world in Vegeta State Army. It's growing. It's fun. It's a blast going to a big event, and everybody's wearing this fucking dumbass jersey. So Brandon Green coming in here with the. Let's talk about this leader. If you guys are watching from home and you want to build a good deck for this game, this is a great example of where to start. You want to play Gogeta's a great deck. I like aggression. I'm playing right now SS4, but I'm just too lazy to buy the promos. That's the only reason I'm not playing this deck because I love it. So let's see here. Let's go into the deck. Now this here got first place again at the Kentucky Fest that just happened recently. So it's the Son Goku and Vegeta on the front side. Obviously, when you play something with Union Fusion, you draw a card, and when he attacks, he draws a card, and you can add up to one card from your life to your hand. So like he does a lot of drawing, even on the front. And then activate main, you can send up to 5 cards from your deck to your warp. When your life's at 4 or less, you can draw one and untap one. On this side, he still draws with the Union Fusions. He still has the auto, but when the auto's different. When he attacks, you draw a card and you send up to 5 cards to your warp. And then the main's cool. You add 1 card from your left to your hand, and then you choose up to 2 of your black battle cards with energy cost of 1, and they got a 10k pump for the turn. It's a really aggressive deck. Like, turn 3 is insane in this deck. If you guys are watching from home and you want to build this deck, this is his list. It's actually, like, a cool... I mean, like, a lot of it is a pretty normal list. Like, it's nothing out of the ordinary. Again, if you're watching from home, you want to play this game, you want to build a really cheap deck, this is kind of it. If you take out this promo and the Unison, which is possible, you can play this deck without the Unison. If you're a brand new player, it's a very strong deck. Like, if you build it that way, you take this guy out and you take the Unison out and you're good. Now, this build is obviously using, not the PyCon, but it's using the Mira Unison. This Unison's awesome. I think that I can see how the PyCon's better sometimes. But the Mira is also the type of card that, like, he's gonna absorb a bunch of attacks, because if he's left unattended, then he's insane. He can't attack if he has 2 or fewer markers, but he gets played. And the +1 is you draw a card and then you warp a card. Now, warping cards in this deck is good, obviously, because you get to set up your fusions. Now, the -2, that's activate battle. You get a 5k pump for every card in your warp. Not battle card, not any of that, just every card in your warp, and that just wins games. Attached to Champa. He's running the one Champa here. And yeah, the deck is pretty much what you'd expect. The thwarting has gone down in price. I think the most like expensive cards are, I guess, the promo and the Fane Greeting Vegeta. Now, as you can tell, again, I mean, a lot of you guys already know this, but if you don't, what you want to do is basically turn 1 thwarting the Dark Empire. This card, there's a version of this card that's a lot cheaper, and this is the best turn 1 in the entire game. It's a 25k double striker that when he attacks, he warps a card. And this is an insane effect. I mean, he does it so early, and he stays on board. You can do the overrun, but obviously you can Union Fusion. Now, this leader is going to put a lot of cards in a warp, and that's where you're going to be doing the fusion from. That's why he has the 30k Vegetas to go with the 30k Gokus. This deck is is powerful. This deck wants to kind of kill you very early, like going up to 3. This is the type of deck that we need in the game, or else decks like Invoker are gonna run rampant. We always need an aggressive version of a deck for this game, and this deck does it really well. Trunks Time Regulator is an incredible card. It's an Overwhelm 3, and it draws 2 cards on play. It's free, 15k for the turn, obviously. You're going to draw 2 cards, and then you're going to warp a card. A lot of these cards that make you warp are great, because you get to use that to pitch your fusion material. Fusion material, because everybody knows Union Fusion, you get to play a card for cheap, but you have to use cards in your hand to do that. This deck doesn't. You don't have to. The cards that you're fusion, they can be chosen material from the warp. Now your leader's gonna warp some cards. Some of these cards are gonna make you warp, like the Trunks and the Mira. So all you have to do is, if you have a Goku that's 5k in your warp, then you're gonna pitch the Vegeta, whatever, you know. Let's go into some of these other cards. Super Saiyan 4 Son Goku. This card's also really cheap. It just got reprinted in a Mythic Booster. I think I got my playset for like 50 cents each or something. Overwhelm 6. It's a 30k, free 30k, and it can grab like up to one of your battle cards with energy cost between 3 and 7 from your warp and give it to your hand. Usually what you want to do is grab your thwarting, right? And yeah, if you get your burst turn 1 and you send the perfect Goku Vegetas into your warp and you're mulliganing for this card, you're going to play this for 1 energy, 25k double strike that stays on board, because it's not Overwhelm, it's Fusion. And you're drawing a card. And you're drawing off leader, you know? So you draw off leader, you draw off thwarting, you take a life. Like it's a lot. It's really good. Another great card here we're gonna go into, in case you guys, you guys can see the whole deck profile. For those of you that just want that, here it is. For those of you that are new and want to get a little more insight, you can obviously stick around. This card's sick. It's another fusion. This one just comes out for 1 energy. Now it's not double strike, but it is barrier, which is cool. It also fuses from the warp. Now then, after you swing with it for 20k, you can tap 1 energy, and you can play a Goku and a Vegeta 1-drop from your warp. So again, like you just, or drop. So the guys that you just fuse, you can just bring them out again. So for 2 energy, you're getting 3 swings that are going to be, I don't know, 25k each, 15k each, depending on what abilities you're using. One of the new cards that have been added to this deck is going to be Super Saiyan God Trunks Power Awaken for 2 energy. You can play him from your warp. You need 8 cards in your warp total for this card to happen. But again, you can do that really easily in this deck, because obviously this deck, fucking warps a lot, right? So every time he attacks and he's dual attack and deflect, you get to put up to 3 black battle cards from your warp in your drop area. This is great because it sets up your Overwhelm. A lot of these Overwhelm cards are very tall. Not so much in power, obviously, but like in cost. Like Overwhelm 6 for Fighting Against Fate. Fighting Against Fate is another great finisher. It's dual attack, 25k. Just free, just Overwhelm. But Overwhelm isn't met quite easily in this deck. Like Vegex. Vegex was a great Overwhelm deck, right? Because it sent cards to the drop, whereas this sent them to the warp. But this card just totally fixes that. Like, it doesn't have unique either. Like, the card's so sick. Really underrated. Also, black just got a clone negate. You can negate the attack, and you can play Demon Realm Soldier and negates blocker. Important for me to say, by the way, because it is a new card. Even if you know the deck really well, you should know that it's the good one. He has 5k power and 5,000 combo power with 0 combo cost. I hate the ones that are 10k power that you can't combo. It just sucks. Like, I hate those. So I like that he has the combo. It's one of those things where black, like, is really cheap and really good, but they don't need Gatsio. They don't need charismatic villain Frieza. Like, they don't need that, because that's too much. Black is so free and cheap already that, like, if he had the defense that the color decks had, it'd be a little broken. So when the clone token negates came out, I was like, yeah, there's no way they're fucking giving that shit to black. And now they have. So it's like super sick to see black. I got like get that type of support. One thing Brandon wanted me to say is that this card actually came in super clutch for him, and I can see why. Like, I believe him. I guess a lot of people are saying a card's bad, or I don't know. He said it won him a lot of games that Pen wouldn't have, and I believe it. So it comes out for one activate battle, and it's a 40k double striker, and then for one activate main or battle. You can remove her for the game, and then the next turn, your opponent can't attack with battle cards or unison cards unless they crit a life. So that's super. I remember reading it, and I'm like, that's insane. Um, Now Pan's obviously really good. I think Pan's the best secret rare, but like if you're playing this Milky, the Milky Jugs, the AT&T girl, yeah, I totally know. I get why. Like the card's insane, so that's cool. You know what's funny? One card that makes this deck really good. The reason why this deck's better than Gogeta Trunks, by the way, is because one, turn one forwarding that draws a card is way too fucking good, and two, this guy, I really like this guy. He's a 16k blocker, but like on play, again, it's another fusion, right? It's you gotta union fusion him, but he warps a 4-drop or less, ignoring barrier. This is like really good because like one of the cards that would like fuck this deck up is like one of the cards, I guess, is Son Goku striving to be the best. It's like one of the, I'm just saying an example. This is a random example, right? This like shits on that, and it's like a silver bullet against a deck like this. Exactly, it's like a 2-drop blue card that says like, oh, your opponent can attack with 2 drops or below, or I don't think either of you can. And I'm just like, well, that would be great if Gogeta Fearless Fusion didn't exist. It's also like a 1-drop 16k blocker berry removal that draws you a card, right? So you are enough fusion material in this deck to be able to draw every turn because your leader gives you that, right? And again, look, if you're watching and you want a good deck that you want to play that's cheap, build it the way I told you. Just don't have the promo, don't have the unison, or you can have the unison, I guess, but the promo's the only really expensive card I think in this deck, and a secret rare. If you want a secret rare that's cheap, but you're bowling on a budget, oh my god, Heroine's Lineage is like $30, and it goes in every deck, and it costs 1 energy. Really powerful card. But yeah, no, obviously the Kai is really good, right? So you warp the Kai, and then if you do, you can bottom deck her and play from the warp or hand that specific unison. You can go with Mira. You can go with you can play Pycon. I've heard arguments for both. I think I like Pycon more. But like Mira is sick. Like Mira just wins games as well. So it's not a one-sided argument. I can see the argument for both in all honesty. So let's go into the 1-drops, other fusion fodders, I guess. One cool thing, by the way, about the deck real quick. Like if you see yourself only milling this card and you have this unison on board, then you +1, draw 1, and you warp your Goku. Like, like to set up your, another way is obviously the Trunks. I like how this deck runs smoothly. And it really, because what's one thing people always say that's fucked up about this deck is the RNG in it. And by RNG, they mean like the randomness factor, that you don't know what you're going to mill. You can mill your secret rare. You can mill your, I don't know, your super combos. That super sucks. So I totally get adding consistency, and that's what some of these cards do. This card's great if you add a card to your hand using a non-leader skill. This card is going to get 10,000. So like you play this card, right? And then you take a life and you're going to give it 10,000, right? So, I mean, it can be a 25,000 double strike when used with cards like this, right? You're going to be playing this for 1 along with the other one. The leader's going to give it 10,000. And if you swing with something else and they try to super combo, then like this gets the pump. Any deck that runs negates, you guys know about True Fighting Spirit. Just remember about the unique tag. A lot of you guys forget. Once per turn, if somebody uses a negate, they have to warp a card. Or counter skill. That can be, any type of, it can be a counterplay too. And then this is like the Raditz the Oppressor, I guess, of black. And it's cool. It has deflect, so does, I think actually, so does Son Goku. So these cards are great. The 5Ks and also the super combo counts as that. Great super combo. It's the type that, draws the 2 and bottom decks one really good. on Enchant at 1. Now, going into the sideboard, it's actually an impressive sideboard. Brainwashed is a card people. It's good to, it's hard to shotgun anymore with double strike at black. If they have an energy up because of this card, you get to tap a black energy, you crit a life, and then you don't take damage for the battle. Very scary card. This is great against King Piccolo. It is great against any deck that wants to summon things without a keyword skill, right? That's 15k or less. So every time they do that, they have to drop 2 cards. That's it. Pretty crazy. And it also serves as like a 1-drop that can swing for 15k if you take a life. Super Kamehameha. Surprised not to see it on the main, but just like Brainwashed, I guess its existence is enough to put fear into people, right? Also, this was this is an event that includes a sideboard, so you can always bring it in if you need it. Let's see here. Max Power Kamehameha against a Sin Shenron matchup, or just about anything that plays things that are bigger than their energy. A 4th or a 3rd Supreme Kai of Labyrinth Unleashed. How much? Yeah, he played. Okay, so he mains 2 of them. I don't think I talked about it actually. I think I skipped over it like a jackass. Really good negate. 1-drop negate, and then it warps a battle card for like the turn. And it brings it back with a skills negated, so they don't get that on play effect. So really good card. And I can see why he'd main another one. A lot of crazy bombs in this game that just deals with. I guess on the Hatchyak, I guess scenario that he plays Hatchyak, he would bring this in. It's a really cool card. So yeah, activate main for 4 energy. You choose a Gogeta or Vegeta Xeno in your battle area or drop area, and send them to the warp and play this card. It's a triple attack. Blocker. And this card's nuts. When this card attacks, your opponent chooses 2 of their battle cards and 2 cards in their hand, ignoring barrier, and he warps them. So it attacks 3 times for 35k, and then stands up at the end of the turn and has blocker. Card's stupid, actually. This is like the Hatchak killer, so I can see why he's playing it. Petrification at 3, really good against red right now. Really good against like a lot of shit, actually. Really good because it doesn't let people like resolve their autos. So like if they swing with some crazy shit that triggers on swing, it won't go off. Yeah, unfair. Actually, really good. I'm okay with that card. Like, yeah. And Koichikai, one of the most underrated cards in the game. I think people are catching on now, but yeah, like green, yellow, like anything that likes playing shit on your turn, they'll pay for it if you play Koichikai. You start your turn 3 by like using one of these, right? Especially against yellow, sometimes green. Depending on the matchup. You want energy, you remove it for the game. And if your opponent plays anything that's 20k or less, every time they do it, they have to drop 2 cards. Or is it warp 2? Yeah, you have to warp 2. So yeah, just really good. I've seen people use several Koichikais in a turn, just to like Omega humiliate their opponents. So yeah, one thing I want to read off the shoutouts he had here for everybody. So yeah, look, shout out to another member of ours, Cameron Judd, because he was the first one that helped him put the list together, and he really couldn't have gotten here without his help. He really couldn't have gotten there without the help and practice of his locals either. So that's important. Locals, a good locals team, a good locals band of friends to help each other out with, right? And yeah, like he said, the goth milkers are underrated, and she's absolutely worth running. Yeah, man, that secret rare is amazing. Put on the comment section your congratulations to him. Let him feel the love. Very proud of him. Very, very impressed with what he's done. Very, very happy to have the first place top of VSA. And it's really cool. Yeah, no. Again, this secret is nice. She has 2 very good personalities. 2 very good pair of good skills. If you guys have any help, do you guys like this list? What differently would you guys do with this list? What do you like that he's doing different than you? Do you guys have any questions about his matchups? Do you guys have any questions about what you'd like to see this deck do in the next meta or in this meta? Let me know. Go to Vegeta Saiyan Army, join the team, get a mat, get a jersey. Don't forget to kiss your homies goodnight, and I'll see y'all next time. Let's go.